This land is your land. This land is my land. From California, well, to the New York Island. From the Redwood Forest to the Gulf.
Welcome to Markie's World. I'm Markie Shinn, your host, and I have a wonderful guest here, Lauren Herndon. So, Lauren is with an agency, and they're doing a lot of things that are going to be very important to our youth right now. And I'd let Lauren, first of all, thank you for coming.
Thank you for
I
having
really
me.
appreciate you coming, and also your patience. But can you explain to me what are you going to be doing? What's the project?
So I have a nonprofit organization called Farfallagirl, which is Italian for butterfly girl. I started it 15 years ago when I was 19. So I kicked off a nonprofit organization for young girls from my own peers.
Wow.
At the age of 19. I'm now 35 years old.
Well, where did you get the name from?
So
are you like a little butterfly?
I wish. It was originally called Straight Modest. So when I started, I was 19, and I actually started because of a single mom who I grew to just love and adore, that I was going to church with. She had a teenage daughter who was 16, and that daughter had a son off of a rape.
Oh, wow.
And that mother, at the time that the mother needed me to mentor her daughter, the daughter was 16 and the guy was in jail for 40 years. And he
so they caught the guy?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
And they were putting her back through court because he wanted to file for a paternity suit to see if he was the father. And so, mind you, he had sexually...
That's like an LMN Lifetime Movie Network.
He had sexually assaulted her when she was 12, 13. At this point, the baby's like 3, she's 16, she's in high school, straight A student, GPA, and she didn't have to deal with it anymore. And then this popped back up, and so she shut down.
That's ridiculous.
And the fact that the court approved of that, to put her back through that, was just hard on her mother, the family. And so her mom came to my mom and was like, would your daughter mentor my daughter? And I just wasn't in the mentoring mindset. I don't want to mentor her, although I was a youth leader in church at the time.
Okay, right.
And finally my mom was like, look, you're going to mentor her. Oh, okay, I'll do it. And so as I got to know her, I realized there were other girls that may have needed someone to talk to. She wasn't the only one who was struggling through sexual assault or shutting down or not being able to communicate how she's feeling. There's a lot of them. And so me being 19, I'm like, well, I'll gather a bunch of other girls in church and see. And I went to my mom, and my mom knew ultimately I was doing this because I didn't want to go to college. I had made up in my mind college wasn't for me. But my mom was the type of parent that you're not going to sit at home and do nothing. So I was like, I'll start a nonprofit organization.
Wow, at such an early age.
At 19. In my mom's basement, we had a 2-bedroom basement apartment in Humboldt Park. Wicker Park. And I gathered 22 girls from my church for 22 weeks in our basement apartment for 22 Saturdays. And at the time it was called Straight Modest. And I was kind of teaching them how to be modest, but at the same time we were dealing with how to communicate your feelings. Emotional and mental therapy, things like that. But as the years went on, I started to realize that these girls would transition into something better than when they would start the program.
Oh, okay.
So by the time I stopped doing Straight Modest in 2006, and I decided to go to college finally. And I majored in fashion design.
Oh.
And so a part of my senior collection, I had to create, my specialty was bridal. So I had to create a full collection, name it and everything. And the collection I wanted to do was based off butterflies.
Oh, so butterflies.
And so I didn't just want to call it a butterfly collection. So I started going through the different languages on how to say butterfly. And I landed on Farfalla, which is Italian for butterfly.
Because I was like, where did Farfalla come from?
Yes. It was my senior project.
It sounds like a dance or something.
Yeah, it's actually a pasta.
Oh, is it?
It's actually, farfalla is known as a bow tie pasta, but it's considered a butterfly pasta in Italy.
Oh, that
We
makes
call
sense.
it bow tie,
Oh, okay,
but
they
it's a
call it bow
butterfly
tie.
pasta
Oh.
in Italy. But that is
Learn
also their
something
word.
new every day. I like that.
And so I decided to name it Farfallagirl because once I finished college, although I had great interns, like I interned for their wing, I had great internships.
Ooh.
The young girls were pulling at my heart and calling me. And as much as I wanted to move to New York and start this fashion design party life,
Right.
my purpose had already been formed in me at 19.
Well, you know, God puts us on this particular path, and you have to go with it.
Yeah.
You know, who knows how long that would have lasted?
Yeah.
Because somebody else would
Yeah.
come up right behind you.
And then I'll be pushed to the side.
Right.
Yeah. And so
There's her 15 minutes of
fame, and it was over with. Yeah, I'm done at that point. But I decided not to pursue jobs and stuff in other cities. And I came back home and I told my mom what I wanted to do, and she okayed me living with her to be able to afford this nonprofit. And so from there, I rebranded Straight Modest and started calling it Farfallagirl. And that same year is when I got my 501c3 status for the organization. Although I had been operating for 4 or 5 years before that, I was just operating as a business.
Okay.
But then I wanted to go into public schools.
Okay.
And so I...
Now, what was the thought to go into public schools?
To be honest with you, was never an idea for me.
Mm-hmm.
I never really wanted to do it because I knew the work it took.
Okay.
And I was like, there's just so many girls. I don't have time. I don't want to do that because the classes I were doing were in youth centers around the city, people's homes. Like I would have moms gather girls from the neighborhood because they knew that this program was so influential. And they would be like, look, come to my house. My house could be one of your sites for the girls.
You're meeting a wonderful person. I introduced you to a lot of
Yeah.
wonderful people.
And so from there, I had a good friend. She passed at the end of last year. Her name was Donna. She was a food photographer and chef. Donna Benbeck.
Oh, wow.
Big food photographer and chef known in the city, African American young woman. And we became great friends because I was interning for a magazine. And she happened to be a photographer for one of the events I was at.
Oh, okay.
And we became really good friends. And then one day she invited me to a party. And at this party was a woman named Katie. And so hanging out with Katie, I never knew what Katie did for a living because I thought she was just a food blogger.
Oh, okay.
And
does she do food blogging?
She used to.
Oh, okay.
Big time. She's a big food blogger. I had no clue. That's all I knew her as. And then one day we were talking and she asked me what I did for a living. I told her my girls program. And she happened to be, her full-time job was a school counselor at Ace Tech High School.
Oh, okay.
Over on 54th, and I forgot the other street.
Oh, I don't know.
And
That's
it's right on the south side.
Oh,
It's
okay.
Ace Tech High School. They've closed down now, but they used to be located over there. And she said, hey, come to my school and teach girls. Let me tell you, that was so hard because I never planned on being in public schools.
Oh.
But I also knew that sometimes when you go into a public school and you take money from them and they pay for your program, they kind of have a say in how your program operates.
Right, because you're under their...
Yes, but I had come up with a second plan.
Okay.
And I
Plan
realized,
B.
Plan B was I would offer my program for free to high schools
Oh,
and
okay.
free to the girls.
And then what comes out of there? You get...
And what I would do is just get personal donations, and donations out of my pocket and my mom's pocket would fund the program. But the school had to help me with food, make sure I always had a classroom space, things like that.
Right, and you...
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And so, and they also couldn't tell me what to do because I
Right,
was
that's
being
what I
nice
was-
and
that's
giving you
what
this
I was-
program. And the formula worked, so that was why I didn't want a school to pay, because the formula I had already transformed 80-something girls from the age of 19 to 26, and I just refused to let someone else come in and tell me what formula they think is going to work.
Right.
I've seen it be
Yeah,
successful.
and you're already on your path, and you've already set up this particular program and structure.
Yes.
And somebody will come here very fast and say, well, let's also try
yes.
this way,
Yes.
and let's I have an idea for this, and
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying, but I'm really proud of you with that.
Thank you.
That is just a wonderful. Now, what's some of the things that you do that helps them? You know what?
So, what it is I usually describe Farfallagirl as a personal, educational, and career development program. It used to be for girls 14 to 22. In 2020, we're relaunching it, where it's going to be for girls 17 to 22.
Oh, okay.
However, it was for 14 to 22 for the past 15 years.
What happened?
And so,
why did you drop the little younger ones?
I'm dropping the younger ones because within the last 2 years, we created a program within Farfallagirl called Modern Middle Girl. So girls would take the class. It would have to be between the ages of 14 to 17 because that's the age of high school.
Oh, okay.
And by the time they graduated and turned 18, they aged out of Farfallagirl.
Oh, I see.
Although I give girls lifelong mentorship. So I don't care how old you are, you can come back and get mentored by me or prayer, whatever you need. I am in your corner until I'm no longer on this earth.
That's wonderful.
And so I didn't have anything for my 18 to 21-year-olds. Mind you, I was partying with the older girls. The older girls and I were taking trips, doing fun things.
Right.
But it was just this age group.
Right.
And so I created a program called Modern Middle Girl. They're not children, but they're not legal adults yet. But they have to become prepared for that adult world.
They sure do.
And I felt like, I'm not going to say the parents aren't bad. Parents only teach you what they know that worked for them. And what I wanted to do was create a program to show girls how to develop a plan for their lives that would work for them. Not do it the way your mama did it or your daddy did it, because you're a different person.
That's true. That is.
You're a different person.
See,
So
and that's what I try to tell people. You know, like the parents would say, you know, really the good ones. Where did I go wrong? You know,
you didn't go wrong. Yeah.
You know, it's so much out there
Yes.
that has influenced your child. You know, peer pressure, the television,
Exactly.
everything. It's so many different things that's going on. But it's good to have somebody, especially as young as you are.
Yeah.
And as young as you were, to see, because you started out, actually, you were
I was in their age group.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You started out with them, and you were going through the same
Yeah.
things, you know, may not be as rough as some of the other ones had
Yes.
been through, but you were doing the same thing that they were doing, and you would have more understanding because these are your peers.
Yes.
These are people
They were
of
my
your
peers,
age,
yeah.
and you're going to school with them, you're relating to them.
And they see me every day. It's like, oh, we on the same level. We're the same
Right,
age.
right.
Like, she's no better than me type of situation.
So it's good to be able to know that you have somebody that you can go to for something that.
Yes.
Because it's these young girls, they really do go through a lot, like you said.
I agree.
Rape, mental and verbal abuse by
Mhm.
parents, relatives.
Divorce.
Yeah.
People don't realize how deep a divorce is for people.
Oh, divorce is horrible.
Foster care.
Yeah.
I've mentored a lot of girls who don't have legal guardians that are their birth parents.
Yeah.
They're raised
Yeah.
by
Oh, yeah.
strangers, or they're in a home
And you know what? And I've heard some horror stories just with that.
yeah. And there's some deep ones.
Yeah, I've heard
Yeah.
horror stories with that. So it's a lot that young girls have to go through that. Somebody like you, I'm really proud of you to reach out and try to help them and help them get an understanding and a better grip. See, I always say this, you can go through anything as long as you have the tools.
Yes.
And so she's trying to provide tools so
That's
that
exactly what we call it. Life tools.
Life tools,
That's
okay,
what we
but
call it, life
you have to,
tools.
because you can give these people all the one-on-one counseling and group therapy, but if it's not something that's gonna take care of, like you said, life tools and
Yep.
things that come up, you're gonna fall and crumble. Because when something happened, mom died, you lose a job,
They don't know how to
divorce,
handle it.
They don't know how. They don't have the
don't.
tools. You know, they're like, okay, well, they did kind of help me straighten up a little.
Yes.
You know, now something happened, I'm crumbling. You know,
I don't know what to do, and I don't have anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful. And what you're also saying is, I'm here for you, and I'm not going to send you somewhere else.
No.
So.
Those same group of girls I mentored when I was 19, they're now all 25 to 35, 30,
Wow.
33. And to this day, I still get phone calls. I'm getting married. Now the phone calls are different.
Right.
I had an argument with my husband, or I'm having my first baby and I'm nervous, or I just had my first divorce,
Right.
or you know and still it's situations. I've never been married. I haven't been divorced yet or anything, but I offer lifelong mentorship, which means I'm gonna help you figure it out.
Right. Right.
I may not have the answer nor the personal experience, but I'm gonna help you figure it out, and we're gonna do it together so you don't feel alone in trying to.
And that's the
to map it
major.
out.
That's the major point right there. Doing things alone, because sometimes if you notice with any little thing, another person there could help you think real. Oh, yeah, you know what, you're right.
And you can feel like you're better prepared and you can handle it because someone's in your corner encouraging you, pushing you, and telling you that you're capable of it.
And you can break some family cycles from one
Yes.
generation after the
Yes.
next generation
Yes.
and next generation, because we're like 3 or 4 generations behind on
Mhm.
some families that have, like you said, they're not bad parents, they just don't know.
Yeah.
They just didn't know because their mother brought them up a certain way. And so sometimes these are the outcomes,
Of it,
people
yes, I
really
agree.
are caught up in situations that they don't know how to get out of.
Yeah.
And you need places like this to do things.
And so some of the tools we teach, the life tools, we teach. So the first class we have is when girls come in, we do a class called Mask Off. Now it's a popular rap song by a top rapper that these kids love. However, it's not based off of that song. The Mask Off basically means that removing this outer, harder shell that you have, so that you can let someone in.
Oh, mask off. Oh, okay.
Take the mask off.
Okay.
And so what they do is they come in, they sit in a circle. I give them all these masks, empty blank masks.
Oh, okay.
And I tell them, paint on one side what everybody sees you as.
Mm-hmm.
Paint or draw one side. What do people see you as? Smart, funny, hilarious. And then after you do that, now on the other side, take just a Sharpie and black and write in one word how you really feel. What people don't see. Because people only judge a book by its cover. They don't judge a book by its contents.
That's true.
They don't know the contents of a book unless you open it.
Yeah, that is
But if
true.
it's a hard cover, you're not going to be able to get into that book.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sit them in a circle, and this is when it gets nervous, because now they're like, wait, why are we in a circle facing each other? And one by one, I have them stand up and tell me, what do people see you as? And so girls stand up, and they're like, I'm popular, they see me as cute, I'm funny. And I remember the first time I ever did this was in 2016 when I added this class. And we were at Young Women's Leadership Charter School, and they recently just closed. Their last year was this year. And so,
Where was that at?
26 in Calumet.
Oh, okay. No, I
Yep,
didn't know.
right off King Drive. It was the only all-girls school left in Chicago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so,
And we used to have so many of those.
yeah, it was the only one left, and they just closed that one. And so, the girls all sat in a circle, and this one girl stood up. Most beautiful girl you ever seen. Mind you, they don't know me. This is my first
Right,
date with them.
right,
We're
right.
all everybody in here is strangers unless you're friends. And she stands up and she goes, people see me as pretty, and they see me as straight A student, and I got my stuff together. And when she turned her mask over, she says, but I feel ugly, and I'm a failure, and nothing I do is right or lives up to the standard of people.
Yeah, she just wasn't
And
satisfied.
people stopped. The girls were like,
Yeah.
like, wait, what? You're the prettiest girl in the room. Like, what do you mean you feel
Right.
ugly type of situation? And one by one, we went through that circle. Girls cried because other girls would say things on the mask that they felt.
Right.
That's our mask off class is their first lesson of empathy. And I think my mom getting to know God while I was 12 changed the dynamic of my life. Because I used to have this dream. This is funny. People used to ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up when I was like 12, and I would be like a stripper.
Oh.
I was so serious too. I would practice in the room for it because
on the phone.
I had watched the movies, and they made it seem so glamorous, and then you got a lot of money, and so I was like, well, that's what I'm gonna be, a stripper. And my mom would just be like, oh, please no one ask her what she. My mom, she never doubted me. She never said, you're never gonna be that. You're not gonna. It was just like, no, God, please. And then she started going to church and getting to know God. So then she started pushing, go to youth service, go to this,
Right.
go to that. And then one day, I asked my mom for a pair of Jordans. And something clicked in my mom's mind where she said, I'm not raising that child.
Oh,
I'm
right.
not raising a child that has to keep up with the Joneses, that I have to go broke to meet your physical needs.
Right.
And so my mom did a fundraiser and got $4,000 or $5,000 together and sent me to Africa at the age of 16
Ooh.
for 2 months.
See that?
Sent me to Africa because she wanted me to see kids who don't ask their parents for Jordans.
Oh, that makes sense too. But you know what? I'm glad you brought up something that was very important when you said that. What was that right before that? You said that when you wanted to become a stripper, and because you saw that on television,
Yes.
and you thought that was okay. Because see, they glamorize things and they make it feel like that's okay.
And it's normal.
And there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with
Yeah.
it. Well, see, that's how everything else get done. Back to what we're saying, you could be a good mom, but everything else, all these influences that
Will
are out
change
there,
the mothering that you did in that
it
child.
would, because just imagine all the type of things that people are doing and saying on television.
Yeah.
It is crazy, and I don't know how a lot of people are gonna even be able to survive, right?
Yeah.
You know, with some of the things that's going on, they try to glamorize things that are not pretty.
Yeah.
Trust me, most of the stuff on television is not pretty. And
It's glamour. It's
but
a
you have
puff
to be
piece.
able to.
It's shiny and it has makeup on it. So when I went to Africa, that was a life-changing experience because I had to spend 3 days in Texas on Team Mania Ministry, had acres and acres of land. What they did was, it was a Christian organization. So we were basically like taking God to another country. We're going to introduce God to other people in other countries. So, and we had to do it through skits, dances, and stuff like that. So we had to go to Texas to train for 3 days before they started shipping all these kids to their countries they were going to. And so I get on the plane. Mind you, I'm on this campus in Texas. It's predominantly white kids. There's some blacks there, but most of the black kids are going to like LA or like just Mexico, countries that were closer. And I knew it was because a lot of them that I did meet, it was the financial part of having to pay. My mom wasn't rich, but my church sponsored me, and we raised funds, and my mom's job and my aunt's job. Everybody was, hey, my daughter's going here, my daughter's going here.
And you know what? And you can see, by you saying that, you can see all the things that these churches can actually do.
Yes.
You know, somebody
to change these kids.
Yeah, somebody had said something that with all these churches, how come there's still so much turmoil?
I agree.
And so many things going on. It's a whole lot you could be doing. It's a whole lot.
A whole lot. And so
think about when you giving up all that money to this man that's driving around in his expensive cars and then going home to his expensive homes and stuff. You know, you're supposed to give what you need. Your needs
and help others.
He has a nice. It's nothing wrong with having a nice house. It's nothing wrong with.
Like, I'm not gonna judge you for wanting nice things
and a nice
you can
car
have
or
them.
something.
Yeah.
But let's not go crazy with this. You know, just and then give us your little 5% portion. You know, donations. I think you can only you.
It's like
Right.
everyone that works there, people selling stuff, and you walk. Everyone looked like me, and that was the first time I was in a country where everyone, their hair looked like mine, their skin looked like mine, and so
they're beautiful people.
Yeah,
very beautiful.
And the tables had turned from the plane. On the plane, I felt a little out of place because I felt like all these white kids knew each other.
No, you're going to say,
they did it,
and
I'm the only. And yes, and then the tables turned where now I walk out and it's like hello, but I had already been prepared that sometimes you will meet opposition in Africa as an African American because we're not completely African,
right?
American. And so I did have a few situations where a kid told me I had the white man's blood in me.
But see,
they took us to a village. We had to stay in this village. So they taught us whenever anybody put food in front of you, eat it. It shows a sign of respect. We're from America. We don't do that.
Yeah, I'm not hungry.
Oh, she's not gonna eat that. But in Africa, they're offended if they put something in front of you.
You know
And
what?
you
and
say, I ate
can
already.
understand that
No.
too, because when you know somebody goes through the trouble to fix you something, they sit in there. You
Just
should
taste it, and you
at
can
least
take
taste
it. Yeah, you can take it with you and then throw it away, like, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? But and so we went to this village, and we did like these skits and stuff, and prayed for people. And I remember meeting these kids, and they say, you know, we know where a bunch of other kids are. You guys should come with us. So we had to climb up this mountain to get to these kids. Mine just started raining in the middle of the going up this
Oh
mountain.
wow.
And rain started pouring. Well, as we were walking up this mountain, sometimes you had to hold on, sometimes you could just walk because it was real
Right.
steep. And so you would notice trickles of blood here and there, and then you would move your hand like, oh, what is this? What's this red? Maybe it's red sand or something, I
Right.
don't know. And when you got to the top, my translator, I said, you know, there was like blood on the rock. Like, what is that? He was like, oh, they don't have shoes. I said, wait, what?
Oh.
He said, but they're excited to play with the Americans. They want to play with you guys.
Oh, so they did. Oh.
And that, when I got up there, some
That's
kids
heartbreaking.
had shoes. You know, it depends on the
Some
level
of
of
them
poverty
they
you
went
were
through.
experiencing in the country. People see Africa and think that there's no richness in Africa. There is. There are families who have actual homes. Not everybody lives in a shack.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But there were those kids that, for us, it's like the kids that live in the hood versus the kids that live in the
Right,
expensive
yeah.
downtown high-rise type of situation, or the Hyde Park
Right.
versus the Inglewood. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's kind of like there, too.
When
It's not all...
Do you know Trevor Noah?
I love Trevor Noah. He's South African.
Yeah, and you know he said that when he came here to the United States, he saw one of the commercials about children.
Yes, and he said he was so
He
confused.
was
Like, where are these kids at?
Where are they from? They said from Africa. He said, I've never seen this before.
Yes, because where I went, they did take us to two places. So we did go to a village where those people still practice African rituals and things like that. But most of the places we did go, these people lived in their homes, and their kids had clothes. No, it wasn't Gucci and you know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
It wasn't high-end clothing, but for some it was.
But yeah, because sometimes I'll see a program and they have on regular American
Yeah,
clothes
yeah.
like us. So, you know, America has
You know, we
such a-
outsource everything.
Yeah, that's what I was
so,
saying. We have such an influence on a whole lot of people that, especially blacks. Blacks has influence over the entire world.
it's funny because the first thing they asked me was if I knew Michael Jordan.
You know Michael Jordan.
You know, you from Chicago? Yeah, you know Michael Jordan. No, we don't all know Michael Jordan. But we seen him play in person.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen him play. And so to know that there was a few kids up there that didn't have shoes, but they were so excited to come from their neighborhoods and to play with all of us. And they taught us games we didn't know, and African songs and things like that. And so I remember 2 months later, I go back home. Mind you, I can only talk to my mom once a week. Once a week. She could call as many times as she wanted and leave a message, but I could only call her once a week because they were they had us in this mindset of transforming us and getting closer to God and discovering our purpose, that they felt like if you parents constantly call and talk to them, you can stop the work that's being done in the kid.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sometimes you have to separate the parent from the child to get the kid to
And just
evolve.
accept the fact that if
Yes.
anything happens to
They'll
you,
call you.
they'll call.
They'll call you. Like at that same time, we had a group of kids that were in Honduras. Their bus fell off a mountain, and so the parents, they had to call the parents and stuff like that. Some parents could afford to
Is that
go.
the mountain that has the little narrow winding road?
In Honduras, yeah, and
Oh,
so their
wow.
bus. While we're in Africa, there's a bus of our
Yeah.
counterparts falling off a mountain. Do you know?
That had been
Only
shot.
one kid was air-vac'd to a hospital. Everybody else had broken bones, arms, legs. Some of their parents flew there to get them to come home. And do you know they all decided to stay and finish them with their cast
Oh, wow.
and everything. And so we ended up
Sacrifice.
meeting them in a New York airport because we all had to go back to Texas afterwards. And we were like, what happened? You guys are the ones that fell off the mountain? And they have crutches and casts. And they're like, yeah, but it was dope. Like, we stayed and we had fun. And they could barely, one is in a wheelchair, but they worked it out. And so I believe that sometimes a kid doesn't know what they're capable of until you remove the parent and put them in a situation where they forced to survive, or they're forced to figure it out. And my mom was always the mom that left me the room to figure it out. She was not going to solve the problem for me. And I wanted her to. There were days, I wanted her. Mom, why you treat me like this? Or why did this happen in school? And she would be like, figure it out. But when I came home 2 months after being in Africa, I came home and I cried. I was, because
you saw so much.
I saw so much, and then you fell in love with the country, and then you came back here, and I didn't want to be here.
Yeah.
And they warned, that campus warned all 3,000-4,000 of our parents
that this is what happens.
that when they come home, they're going to be disconnected for like a few weeks. They're going to not want to play with their friends because their heart was left somewhere else with a bunch of other people. And so they're going to feel like strangers in their own home.
And you are able to recognize now all the facts that you were
exactly.
being
And so
brought
to
up
this
with.
day, I'm 35. I've never owned a pair of Jordans. I've never even tried them on.
Now, does she look like she's still?
No. I've never owned a pair of Jordans.
That's wonderful.
Lesson where they've struggled, and I've had girls who had to turn to stripping to make money, and I've had girls that have gone to jail, and one thing though I've always depended on was God for their lives. My program is not Christian. I don't teach anything biblical within my program because I'm a firm believer that if you shine the light in you, they'll see it. You don't have to throw it down their face and their throat. Jesus, Jesus, God, God, nothing.
Right.
You just teach them how to live, and they will see the God in you, and they will discover it
Teach
for
them
themselves.
that there are so many options out
Yes.
here that.
I always tell them you need hope in something.
Yeah.
That's what I teach them.
Yeah.
You can't be a hopeless person roaming the earth because hopeless people eventually take their lives. People who don't have hope in something eventually hurt, and they don't know how to get out of that dark place.
Right.
And so sometimes they think freeing themselves is by hurting themselves. It's
Or
how they
hurting
get out of
others. They hurt
Yeah.
others.
And so I'm not one to, so Genesis 1 says girls, or Revelations 3. No girl can tell you I ever said that in a class. I just teach realness. And sometimes I teach from the book of Beyonce, or the book of Lil Wayne or something.
Right,
I'm going to teach you some life lessons
Or
somewhere. Or
Tupac
Chance
is
the
a-
Rapper.
It's a
Yeah. I
He's a
give
teacher.
them realness of what they know. And then sometimes I do low-key teach scripture, but I make it as if it's just a wise thing a wise person said. And you should learn it and keep it.
A large amount of different things
Yeah.
that you can concentrate on it. And
A
you can
mantra.
take that-
Make it your mantra.
Uh-huh.
Make it your personal belief statement or something like that. And we work on all of that with these girls. And so half of my girls have gone to college. Majority of them.
Wow.
Majority of them have either gone to trade school, 2-year college, or on a university and completed.
Well, as long as they're getting up
Yeah, I
there.
don't care how they're doing it. Yeah, as long as they're getting it. I have girls that, my very first Farfallagirl, which was the one who unfortunately had been raped,
Oh, yeah.
she's the vice president of my board. She works in CPS. She's a mom of 2. And she has a heart for teenagers, just like I do.
Yeah.
She's 31 now. And so she comes back, everybody knows her, and they know her face because she pops up. Even though she works full time, whenever we have a class or a big event, she pops up and she's there and she supports them. And that's the thing I love, is because with Farfallagirl we built a family. So there are girls who've been through my program, and a girl from 10 years ago can walk into the class and they all feel like they know each other.
Yeah.
Because they've all been through the same healing process. And let me tell you, Farfallagirl's a hard program.
Is it?
You gotta face your demons and face your mama's demons and your daddy's demons. Like
The truth. You have to
I'm
face
not.
the truth.
I'm not the organization that puts fashion and makeup and stuff ahead of you. Although we need those organizations as well, but I'm the organization that if that girl has not fixed her inside, I'm not gonna tell you how to put makeup on you either. Like I need you to shine from outward.
Right,
And
because
then fix all
it
this.
just gets crazier once
Yes.
they start hiding behind that makeup.
Yes. And so one thing I've learned is that if we can help our girls not take the pain of their past into their adulthood, they can be successful women. What happens is a lot of the women in life that you see walking around now, women my age or older, and they're hurt or they're sad or they're bitter or they're angry all the time because they got hurt from the past.
The
they got that little girl is still
that's
with
what-
them.
Yeah, and then they pass that on to their children.
Yes,
And,
yes. That little girl's still walking around looking for some type of validation. And a 50-year-old,
Yeah.
she's still there. And that's because no one stepped in and said, let me help her heal. Let me help that little girl heal. So this woman, because I always tell my girls, when you become a woman, that's a whole nother set of problems you're gonna have.
Yeah.
You don't need to bring the past with that too, because you're gonna have men and jobs and friendships all over again. That's gonna cause
Yeah, because
issues
the
for
older
you.
you get, it seems like the world just gets bigger and bigger
Yes.
and bigger. There's so much that you
Yeah.
have to deal with.
And navigate through. And so what you don't want to do is navigate from a place of brokenness.
Yeah.
You want to be healed when you have to navigate this new world, because there's some things in that new world gonna break you. And
Yeah,
so
that's true.
that's what Farfalla is. We're family that holds each other hands, and we take you from a place of brokenness to a place of healed, but a place of reality.
Okay.
You're still gonna get broken sometimes. You're still gonna get put down, and you're still gonna feel inadequate at times.
But you have the tools
But
to
now
help
you-
bring
yes.
you up a little longer.
Now you have the tools to get you out.
Because that's how depression is. You know,
Yes.
it's normal to be, if something bad happened, it's normal to be depressed,
Mm-hmm.
but only
It's a
for
normal
a
reaction.
short while,
Yes.
and then you get yourself back together again. But if you don't have the tools to help you get over that depression, then you'll wallow in it, and then
it just
sometimes
becomes
you
a
may
dark
not
hole.
get back up.
Yeah, it becomes a dark hole, and nobody with light is able to shine through
Yeah,
that.
you start teaching
Yeah.
your children and your
Yeah.
grandchildren, and it just gets terrible.
I
and you don't
recently
even know.
went through a bout of depression, and after sitting in the house for so many weeks, sad. Mind you, I'm Miss Farfalla. Like, people would be
well, it's
shocked
gonna
to know
happen
that I
to
went
anybody.
through
That's
that.
because
Yeah.
you're human. You're human.
Yeah, and I was
you know,
trying to
I
navigate.
was a nurse for a long
Okay.
time. So
I was trying to navigate this next level of my life, what it looked like, and I didn't know what it looked like. And so I started, when Farfalla ended in May, I just got
how
really
old were you
sad.
when this happened? How old were you?
Now,
And how old are you?
I'm 35. So I just went through this
It's gonna happen
recently.
at that time.
And I
too,
had never
because
been through it.
I did when I was turning. When I was coming up to my 32nd birthday, I got so depressed.
Because you're trying to navigate what's
I
next.
didn't even want to tell anybody I was 32 years old. First of all, I was like, I thought I was over the hill. I really thought I was over.
And then you start looking at stuff. Do you have the stuff to go with your age?
Right, you have to.
And
Yeah, you have
I
to.
don't
really
have
look
what
at
they
that.
have at 35 and all that. And I really got sad because I thought because I didn't have certain things and accomplishments in life at this age that I had failed.
But you know, people have accomplishments. You have so many different lives. First
Yes,
of all,
yes.
and then you accomplish this, and then next thing you know, in 10 more years, you're gonna accomplish something else. It's so many different things that goes on. Don't worry about it. I'm
But
glad
it
you
took
got
my
out of that.
mom. It took my mom.
To get
Number
out of
one,
that.
she encouraged me to get counseling.
Oh, okay.
I am big on therapy and counseling. I tell my girls because I know
I think
I
so,
know in
too.
the African American community it's taboo.
But
We
you
don't
know,
talk about it and we don't
But you
seek
need to
it.
have somebody
but you
who is
need
non-judgmental
and licensed and
non-advisory.
knows
Yeah.
how to get you through it.
Yeah, you do. You do.
And that's what churches are for. This is what they should be for. Not all the time are they for that because you feel like that's a place of judging, so you don't go there for
But
help.
at the same time, are they even actually, like you say, and licensed? Are they, you know?
Yeah,
do
because
they-
I had pastors when I was young. My father and I are cool now, but at one point in my life, he did check out after the age of 12 or so. Because my parents always lived in different cities. They met in college, but my father lived in D.C. My mom lived in Chicago. So at a certain age, when I no longer wanted to go to D.C. because I had a life here,
Right.
he got hurt, so he checked out of being a father for a very long time. And so I went through counseling with pastors at the church I went to, Pastor Calvin and Wanda. It's a black pastor with his Mexican wife. And I did a few sessions of counseling with them. And although they weren't licensed, Pastor Calvin had been through his own daddy abandonment issues and stuff. And so he was able to guide me
Okay, good.
and how to,
good.
and heal from it. But it takes a pastor who's willing to be honest about their own lives.
Well, see, that's what I was going to
That's
say.
the thing.
Sometimes they don't even have to have the education of. They have
Have the
to be able
experience.
to have the experience
Yeah.
and the know-how. The
Yeah.
know-how is more important than anything. because sometimes some people may even have the education, and
And don't
some
have
may not,
experience.
and they can cause more harm than good.
Good. Yeah, I agree.
They could really
I
cause
agree.
some damage trying to work with somebody's mind. That's a
When
dangerous
you
thing.
haven't had, you gotta know what you're doing
That is so.
and be prepared for it. So yeah, I went through counseling. I'm going through it still. My girls, the tables have turned, so now my girls check on me
Oh, that's wonderful.
and things like this. We're family,
Right.
and so one thing I've always shown them is that I was human from the beginning.
Mhm.
I won't always say the right things. I won't always do the right things, but I love you.
Right.
And everything I do, my intentions
Mhm.
are to do good by you and help you. But my actions and my follow through sometimes may not be the best. And that's like a parent. The intentions are always for your best interest, but sometimes the actions behind it may not have been how it should have been handled or how you should have taught the kid or whatever the case may be.
Things may not work out the way you planned
Yeah.
it to be.
Yeah.
Not all the time. It's
Yeah.
not meant. See, everything's just not meant to be all the time. It's just not.
It's
your
not
time for
reality.
certain-
It's not
yeah.
reality.
Yeah.
And I want my girls to have that understanding. I want them to live in the now, but I want them to have this reality check of life is not fair, but life is also what you make it.
It is. It
It's
is.
not fair. It's gonna have its bad moments. It's gonna have its unfair moments, but it's also what you do with those moments when they come
Mhm.
at you.
Right.
And that's for an adult, a kid, a teenager. It's what you do in those moments. I could have gotten so depressed and turned over my organization and just I didn't want to stay in this hole and stay sad. But I decided to get help, get counseling. I decided to change. That was one of the reasons why I changed the age range of how Farfalla works now and stuff, because I had to figure out what worked for me.
Yeah, and then in a little while, I bet you this is going to change into you're going to have another little section, because now these girls are going to grow up and they're going to have kids of their own,
Yes.
and it's going to it's going to be another little section that's going to. I bet you
Yeah.
we're going to talk later
Yeah.
as you get a little bit older, but.
Even when I have a kid, things are gonna change. So
Right, yeah, you haven't, you're gonna
I
start
haven't had a
seeing
kid
something
yet,
that
yeah.
different. You're gonna be like, okay, we're gonna have
I'm
to
a mom now for real, y'all. Like
open up a new department or in there and try to work that out.
Yeah.
But so that's what you're doing, Farfalla.
Yes, we're doing Farfalla. Right now we're on a standstill because we're planning our very first fundraising event.
Oh, okay.
October 17th,
And where's it?
2019. It's at Low Res Studio,
Okay.
which is at 1821 West Hubbard in the West Loop.
Okay.
It's an amazing, beautiful bridal venue that they donated to us. Tickets, you can go to Farfallagirl, FARFALLA girl.org, and purchase a ticket to attend the event, or make a donation to the organization, or find out how to volunteer, all in the same place. 'Cause
Right.
we're always looking for people to come and share their story, or come and blow up a balloon or something, just so these girls know that it takes a village. And it doesn't matter what that village looks like or what they're doing, as long as that village is present,
Right.
they have support.
And if you want to get in touch with him, other than that as well, get in touch with me and I'll connect you up with
Definitely.
her too. So we're going to wrap this up.
Yes.
You know what? I am so honored that you have come here. I
Thank
love to
you.
see young people, and then she started out even a whole lot younger.
Younger, yeah.
I love.
I was
to
a
see
kid.
and you can tell that she's a beautiful person. She's under God's, eyes.
Yeah, yeah.
You just see it. I'm really proud of you.
Thank
So
you.
I can't say it enough, because we just don't, not just because of your age from when you had
Yeah.
started, but just as a person.
Yeah.
And I'm also proud of her mother. I met her mother. Her mother was in the other room doing some work, but I'm so proud of her as well.
And for 15 years, the reason why this is our first fundraiser is because for 15 years we funded this whole organization out of our own funds.
Ooh, see that?
15 years. My mom has given her bonuses, her little gifts from work, everything so that we can help
See, that
pay
comes, that
for
tells
bus
you,
fare, college fees, prom dresses. We've paid for some of everything.
it comes from the heart. That literally comes
And we didn't
from
care.
the
We
heart.
never asked the parents for anything. We just, if a parent came, I noticed one girl one day, she would eat a lot of food after school.
Oh.
And I would be like, "Wow, she eats so much." And then she would be like, "Can I take the what's left? Can I take what's left?" And then one day I sat and I said, "Hey, what's your family life like?" And she ended up telling me they were homeless and they were sleeping in an abandoned house.
See, you
But
don't
she was
know.
coming to school with makeup on and looking cute every day. And after that, I started buying extra, and we would always put her in the shopping bag and let her take the shopping bag. We would take her home.
That's why you
after
don't
school.
know what a person is going.
But we never put her on blast. We never told the
Right.
girls that this was her situation. We would tell her, wait till after class and leave with me in Egypt, and we'll take you home with all the groceries and everything. And that would come out of me and my mom's pocket. At that time, we were living with other people. We were struggling ourselves, but we saw something in these girls that we didn't care. We didn't care. And so now we're like, well, let's have a fundraiser because now the need is bigger.
A real live role model.
Basically.
That is so-
Basically.
that is
And
so
I want to be
wonderful.
able to do things in life and travel. So I
Yeah.
was like, okay, now we need donation.
Yeah, you do, because hopefully you can reach out next thing. After this, I'll talk to you another year from now. You'll be like, Markie, I'm all around the world
Yeah.
now. Just everywhere. And I'll say, remember this one right here?
Yeah. Remember a year ago?
She's all around the world. She has a agency all around the world, and it's gonna happen for you.
Thank you. I believe it. I believe it.
So we're gonna close up and say goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.
This land is your land.